Chapter 2401, Confusion in the Heart 1. Zhang Yi halted, his gaze sharpening. The next moment, several familiar figures emerged from the black mist. King Arthur, clad in silver-white armor and wielding Excalibur, radiated the majestic presence of a sovereign. Behind him followed the Knights of the Round Table, appearing as if they had just returned from a fierce battle. Beside the Round Table knights stood Saladin, tall and impassive, his entire being seeming to merge with the shadows. The remnants of the Shadow Demon Legion trailed silently behind him. Arthur and his companions had caught up to Zhang Yi's group. Since Zhang Yi had gone ahead and cleared the obstacles, they encountered no trouble on their approach. Chaos, we're here. Things unfolded exactly as you predicted, those Vatican bastards are scheming in the shadows. King Arthur addressed Zhang Yi thus. He glanced at Morgan of Columbia and gave a slight nod in greeting. Morgan looked at Zhang Yi, then at King Arthur and Saladin. How could he not understand what was happening? You've joined the pupil organization too. Well, you and the church have indeed fallen out. I can understand that. Morgan remarked indifferently. Observing their expressions, Zhang Yi inquired, where are those Vatican people? Did they escape? Saladin informed Zhang Yi, Father Orion and Sister Leibniz have already departed the Dark Sun Forest with their people. Saladin's eyes grew icy as he added in a low voice, their objectives must be connected to the Vatican's conspiracy. But what exactly they want, we still don't know. Changing the subject, both men turned their gaze to Zhang Yi. Chaos. King Arthur spoke, his tone tentative. What exactly happened? What are those people from the Holy See plotting? This forest seems far more dangerous than we anticipated. Zhang Yi shrugged. I used someone's ability to glimpse a possible future. In that scenario, the church would betray us and defect to the Moon people. That's why I had you keep watch on them. What? Every present face betrayed utter astonishment. Siding with the Moon people? The Holy See? What possible motive could they have? And why would the Moon people act against us now? With their power, harming us should be effortless. Morgan and the others were utterly baffled, and even those in shadow space were perplexed. From start to finish, only Zhang Yi and Yang Xinxin knew the truth. Not even Zhou Qi or Uncle Yu and the others were privy to it. Zhang Yi stated, I told you before, this was merely a possibility. Precisely because I lacked absolute certainty, I refrained from informing you earlier. But now, Zhang Yi gazed at the corpse of Diaolan, whom he had slain, lying on the ground. His expression grew grave as he declared, I can now confirm it. Morgan, King Arthur, and the others were shaken to their core. They couldn't fathom how they could possibly survive their mission if both major lunar empires turned against them. Don't worry too much. It's true that the Lunars are after us. But from what we can tell now, it's only a small faction within the lunar race. This matter is likely connected to the death of the 7th Dark Moon Priest of the Dark Moon Empire. Zhang Yi rested his chin in his hand, pondering for a moment before turning to Yang Xinxin. Xinxin, can you make sense of this? Zhang Yi never liked tackling intellectual challenges himself. Yang Xinxin nodded slowly. The information fragments are now complete. I can roughly piece together the truth. All eyes turned to Yang Xinxin, eager to hear the perspective of Zhang Yi's strategist. Yang Xinxin spoke thoughtfully, eliminate all false possibilities. Whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the correct conclusion. Have you considered that perhaps some lunar people were the ones who orchestrated the loss of the Fire Seed? A similar suspicion had also flickered in Zhang Yi's mind. He said, you mean? A traitor emerged among the lunar people. They abandoned their ancestors' suppression of Samel and instead chose to help him break the seal. Yang Xinxin nodded. Exactly. That's precisely what I mean. Saladin voiced his skepticism in a low, grave tone. But what purpose would that serve? Once Samel breaks the seal, according to ancient records, he will indiscriminately devour everything in the physical world. Then the first to perish would be the lunar people themselves. Isn't this tantamount to suicide? Yang Xinxin smiled faintly. Yes. They knew they would die, yet they still chose this path. So, I suppose this is what you call faith. Yang Xinxin carefully analyzed the situation for everyone. First, from the very beginning, the loss of the fire seed meteor was riddled with suspicions. A figure of such paramount importance, revered as a sacred relic by the entire brilliant Moon Empire. How could it be possible for a single Ink Shadow Warrior to simply carry her away? Without someone orchestrating it behind the scenes, this outcome was utterly impossible. Second, after arriving on the moon, the Dark Moon Priestess, Xi Yuyan, died the very next day. How could such a coincidence occur? Third, Dialan's assassination attempt on Zhang Yi and the appearance of that shadow assassin. Fourth, the Vatican's unusual actions. Had Zhang Yi's power not exceeded their expectations, any other bishop-level mutant arriving on Earth would have faced certain death. Yang Xinxin stated, in summary, I conclude a faction has emerged among the lunar people. Their objective is to resurrect Samuel. And the Vatican representatives must have been in contact with them beforehand. From the very start, Father Orion and Sister Leibniz's purpose in coming to the moon was never to reinforce Samuel's seal alongside us. As for why they would do this, she shrugged her shoulders. Who knows what their motives are? Perhaps they're just fanatically devoted to Samuel, willing to die for him. Just like those zealots in the Holy See. Morgan still didn't understand. If the lunar people have gone mad, that's one thing, but what purpose does this serve for the Holy See? Their foundation remains firmly on Earth. Yang Xinxin shook her head. That part one don't know. We'd probably have to ask them directly. An eerie silence fell over the room. Yang Xinxin's analysis was logical and methodical, undoubtedly the most plausible explanation. But emotionally, they couldn't accept it. How could anyone deliberately undermine their own cause by releasing a demon god capable of annihilating their entire race? In any case, dwelling on this now is pointless. The more they try to stop us from finding the fire seed and reinforcing the seal, the more determined we must be to do it. Yang Xinxin looked at the group and stated calmly. Chapter 2402, Confusion in the Heart 2. Saladin's eyes darkened, while King Arthur fell silent. Zhang Yi continued, there's no need to worry. The urgent task now isn't to dwell on trivial matters, but to find the spark, strengthen Samuel's seal, and prevent the moon from collapsing completely. His words sent a shockwave through the assembled group. The moon collapsing. It was an apocalyptic vision none dared to contemplate. Morgan clenched his teeth, suddenly lifting his head. His voice carried a hint of hesitation. If that is truly the case, then all our battles thus far have merely been a prelude. Zhang Yi nodded, then simply turned and continued striding deeper into the forest. Yet at that very moment, an abrupt change occurred. Several members of the Knights of the Round Table suddenly clutched their heads in agony, their bodies convulsing violently. Bloodshot veins bulged in their eyes, pupils gradually darkening, while eerie cracks began to surface on their skin. What's happening? Someone cried out in alarm. Mental corruption. Morgan's expression changed drastically. Sure enough, the knights soon began to howl, their eyes hollow and savage. Their limbs twisted, and their armor began to fuse with their flesh, transforming them into grotesque monstrosities. An oppressive aura spread, as if the entire forest whispered, attempting to drag everyone into madness. King Arthur's expression grew grave as he abruptly drew forth an ancient conch shell. He drew a deep breath and blew into it with sudden force. Woo, a deep, resonant horn call echoed, carrying a rhythm unlike anything of this world. It was the sea god's melody, the tranquility and order of the deep ocean, spreading through the air. The conch shell, a sacred artifact capable of sealing space and calming the sea's waves, also possessed the power to soothe the human heart. The distant horn's sound reached the knights' ears. Their once maddened pupils gradually regained clarity, and the savage cracks slowly receded. The aura of spiritual corruption was suppressed, and their minds returned to tranquility. The dark whispers in the air gradually dissipated beneath this melody, as if the deep sea's tide was swallowing all chaos. The knights' breathing remained ragged, yet they had finally regained their senses. They knelt on one knee, sweat streaming down their foreheads. King Arthur lowered his horn, his expression grave. Indeed, the corruption of the Dark Sun Forest is intensifying. Without the conch horn, even we might have been consumed. Saladin's eyes were cold and sharp as he murmured, "This forest conceals darkness deeper than we imagined. We must act swiftly." Zhang Yi shouldered his greatsword, turning to pierce the thick fog ahead with his gaze. His voice was cold and resolute, like an echo from a distant future. "Time is running out. We must find the fire seed swiftly, leave no opportunity for those schemers." With Zhou Qi and Yang Xia's assistance, Zhang Yi had fully restored his state. Without hesitation, he absorbed 3 portions of Black Bishop-level origin energy in one go. The dense, potent origin entered through his brow. The sensation of his skull nearly bursting from the force caused an excruciating, tearing headache. Absorbing such excessive energy in a short span indeed overwhelmed his body. After all, he wasn't merely accepting power, he also had to digest all the negative substances within the mutant's origin, purifying it of impurities and transforming it into his own. Fortunately, the agony was temporary, soon giving way to a sense of ease. Zhang Yi could feel that once he returned to Earth, it wouldn't take long before he formally broke through to the night level. Finally, he would be able to test his strength against those mighty ancient civilizations. Even without relying on external aids, his pure innate power alone was now sufficient to stand against multiple powerful races. Though transcendent entities like the 2 great empires of the Lunar People or the Qinling Mountain Dragon clan remained beyond his reach. Yet he would no longer face those forces utterly defenseless. The stronger I become, the deeper my reverence for those super-ancient existences grows. Who knows how many other mysterious, powerful races remain hidden in this world, constrained by the rules of Kagago. Zhang Yi clenched his fist, his eyes flashing with resolute determination. Continue growing stronger, uncover more secrets of this world. I will lead everyone to survive the true calamity. The group pressed forward, pursuing Fengu and Meteor. Brian sneezed, then strained his canine nose to guide them. Deep within the Dark Sun Forest, it felt like the very edge of the world. The further they ventured inward, the thicker the mist grew, as if even their souls were being swallowed by the darkness. The sky here was no longer pitch black, but churned with bands of ghostly purple light, like an eternal aurora, yet radiating endless cold and oppression. In this valley cloaked in darkness, the silence was so profound not even the wind could be heard. Everything seemed suspended outside of time, with only the echo of footsteps reverberating across the valley floor. 2 figures emerged from the darkness, Meteor and Fengu, slowly making their way into the valley. Their forms were frail, yet radiated an unyielding resolve. The journey and bloody battles had left both of them covered in wounds. Yet now, a resolute flame burned in Fengu's eyes. Meteor kept her eyes closed, letting him pull her forward by the hand. She placed complete trust in Fengu. Before them lay a chaotic, bewildering boundary, like the gates of the underworld. Illusory dark light twisted into massive vortexes, radiating a potent warning. This is the heart of the Dark Sun Forest. We've arrived. Fengu lifted Meteor's hand and gazed at her, his voice deep. Soon we'll meet the Night Witch. She can remove the Silver Moon Guardian's spell binding you, restoring your sight. Meteor's voice grew excited. Really? That means I'll finally see what this world truly looks like. Fengu nodded, his voice softer than ever before. Once your eyes are healed, we can go many places. We can see this world. His voice suddenly faltered, his right hand instinctively tightening its grip on Meteor. For he knew all too well that across the entire moon, both the Brilliant Moon Empire and the Dark Moon Empire were searching for them. Even with her sight restored, Meteor could never leave the Dark Sun Forest again. He didn't tell her the truth. Instead, he led her slowly toward the enormous gate formed by the dark vortex. In an instant, they crossed the chaotic, bewildering boundary and arrived in a completely new place. Everything before vanished. The world grew still. Fengu's eyes widened as he gazed at the scene before him, scarcely believing his own eyes. The dwelling place of the Night Witch. was actually like this. Chapter 2403, Confusion in the Heart 3. Meteor followed Fengu through the mysterious doorway. As the light and shadows shifted before them, Fengu's eyes widened in shock the moment he fully grasped what he saw. The scene unfolding before him was unlike anything he had witnessed in nearly a century of living on the moon. The brilliant Moon Empire was perpetually bathed in silvery white radiance. Though dazzling at first glance, prolonged exposure made it feel glaringly harsh. The dark Moon Empire, conversely, was perpetually shrouded in eternal gloom and mist, shrouded in mystery and oppression. Yet this valley before them was serene and quiet, teeming with beautiful flowers, grasses, and trees. These plants were dotted with specks of purple light. At the valley's center stood a colossal black laurel tree. Its canopy obscured the sky, each leaf as crystalline as obsidian, reflecting a cold, eerie glow. Fengu's gaze swept forward until it suddenly fixed upon a vine-woven swing suspended beneath the laurel. Seated upon it was a woman clad entirely in dark purple robes, her face utterly concealed by the shadows. Her form was enveloped by boundless darkness, a crescent black moon suspended behind her. The moon's light spilled across the valley like a frigid tide, too piercing to look upon directly. Her face was veiled in black, only a pair of deep, piercing eyes visible, eyes that seemed to peer into the very roots of fate. She was the ruler of the Dark Sun Forest, the Night Witch. The moment Fengu saw her, his pupil fluttered violently. His knees buckled, and he collapsed to his knees. "Grandmother!" His voice was hoarse, yet brimming with excitement and longing. The word grandmother revealed the familial bond between Fengu and the Night Witch. They were blood-related, direct descendants. No wonder Fengu dared enter this forbidden realm without his mind being corrupted. Observing the kneeling Fengu and the white-clad maiden beside him, the mysterious and powerful Night Witch lowered her head, studying them both for a long moment. "You are Night Soul's son? Has so much time truly passed? You've grown so tall." When the Night Witch vanished, her son was still a child. Never did she expect to now meet her grandson. Fate was truly unpredictable. She had believed she had severed all ties with the outside world. Yet Fengu's arrival meant trouble had arisen. The Night Witch lowered her head and thought. Lately, the dark mist in the Dark Sun Forest had grown thicker. She should have realized what was happening long ago. "How did you come here?" She stared at Fengu, her peripheral vision sizing up Meteor. "And why did you bring the fire seed of the brilliant Moon Empire?" Losing her must have the people outside going mad with worry. She had already guessed the cause of the upheaval in the Dark Sun Forest. Among the two great empires on the moon, the brilliant Moon Empire always held a position superior to the Dark Moon Empire. For the Dark Moon Empire was created by Samuel's descendants, and they were traitors. It was the people of the brilliant Moon Empire who had truly maintained the seal all along. Without their ceaseless production of fire seeds, any breach in Samuel's seal would spell the end for the Dark Moon Empire as well. And the Dark Moon Empire, bordering the source of the abyss, would vanish before the brilliant Moon Empire. Fengu slammed his head hard against the ground and shouted, "I beg you. Save her." Meteor paused, lifting her eyes to meet Fengu's. A flicker of astonishment crossed her gaze. She had never imagined this silent, stubborn man was the grandson of the terrifying being before her. The Night Witch slowly opened her eyes. Her gaze settled on Fengu, devoid of any tenderness, filled only with profound, utter coldness. "Fengu, my dear child. You have finally come here." Her voice was low, yet it echoed through every corner of the valley. It felt as if the heavens themselves were speaking to him. She swayed on the swing, her face indistinct, yet those eyes seemed capable of piercing through everything in the world. 1,000 years ago, she was the first Dark Moon priestess of the Dark Moon Empire. 1,000 years later, no one knew what level of power she had attained. Perhaps she had grown stronger, perhaps she had grown weaker. But even in her weakest state as the first Dark Moon priestess, she possessed terrifying power capable of plunging the entire moon into ruin. Fengu clenched his teeth, his forehead striking the icy ground with a deep thud. "Grandmother. She is the fire seed, bearing the weight of destiny, yet she has already sacrificed too much. Why must she be born to face a hopeless, inescapable fate? Why can't she live like a normal moon dweller, enjoying the beauty of life? Please intervene and save her life. The Night Witch fell silent for a moment before sighing softly. Destiny cannot be reversed. The fire seed's fate is to burn itself, illuminating the heavens. Any who dare defy destiny will meet tragedy. Her words echoed like a merciless verdict, lingering long in the valley's depths. Meteor stood frozen beside her, fingertips trembling slightly. She sensed Fengu's desperate plea, yet also detected the scent of death in the Night Witch's words. No! Fengu snapped his head up, his eyes blazing with mad obstinacy. I refuse to believe in fate. Even a fire seed deserves its own future. Grandmother, I beg you, grant us this. The Night Witch gazed at him, her eyes deep as an abyss. The air hung with deathly silence. Meteor could see nothing, only standing there in a daze. Fengu's heartbeat raced. He had no certainty whether this grandmother, whom he had only heard of since birth, would aid them. Yet the Night Witch was their only remaining option. He had to try. The Night Witch slowly sat down on the swing, rocking gently as her eyes remained fixed on the two figures before her. After a long while, she slowly extended a hand. Her fingers were slender and pale, yet they shimmered with an eerie black light. Since you insist on this, then I shall witness your choice. I can grant her light, but where her destiny will lead, no one can know. As the Night Witch's words fell, the black moon above the valley suddenly trembled. Countless streams of pitch-black moonlight poured down like a tide of night, engulfing the entire valley. This radiance was less light than a liquid darkness, flowing slowly through the void. Beneath that dark moonlight, the figure of the meteor trembled slightly. Her eyes, forever sealed by invisible magical seals, yet now, as the moonlight covered her, her eyelashes quivered lightly, and the binding runes at the corners of her eyes gradually shattered. Snap, the sound of shackles breaking echoed within her soul. In the next instant, Meteor slowly opened her eyes. Her pupils were clear and bright, like the first morning star. Light returned to her world.